So good morning, good afternoon or good evening whenever you are watching this. The morning after a 2-1 home defeat by Farnborough. Joined by just Miles this morning. Bobby went out last night and hasn't managed to get up by 11:30 in the morning, so obviously a good session for him. Miles, what are you thinking the morning after?
Well, I wasn't drowning my sorrows like Bob last night because he probably over enjoyed himself. I imagine try and put the pain and misery of yesterday behind him, but it was I still haven't really got over it. I think now looking at the table, it's stark, isn't it? I know people don't like to mention about 6-pointers and must-win games, that sort of thing, but when you go from being 4 points and level with Farnborough in the relegation zone to then be 1-0 up, have a chance to go 2-0 up with gold, and then that would have put us 1 point behind them, and everyone would have had a different perspective. Now be 7 points adrift is just absolutely gargantuan. It sort of feels horrendous, if I'm being honest. It's the first time this season I thought we're more likely to go down than stay up. I know I came in here last week and said I thought it would stay up, and I've still got that little bit of hope, but we had to get something out of the Farnborough game to have a fighting chance. Because going into now Tuesday night, which we'll get on to, then another sort of pressure game, if you like, against Enfield, where our home form, we'll make no bones about it. We've got 7 points all year. It's horrendous. So, and then obviously February is going to be very, very tough. So it's quite sad, depressing, hopeless, all those words. Waking up this morning after that result, really. In terms of the game itself, I feel like it was just sort of two sides that were very low on confidence, really. I mean, we snatched an early chance through Mullins off the corner, sort of a second ball. But then throughout the game, it's sort of every time the other team, both sides got in front of goal, just that final decision making, the finish, or something was lacking. And I think that's probably representative of where they both are on the table. Right? Last season, or if we went that run under Murray on in the back end of 23-24, we'd sort of take our chances, and just that gold miss is just the one that I keep coming back to because it just feels like a sort of sliding doors moment. If we score that, like I say, with 2-0 up, probably pretty much home and hose, we'll surely at least get a point out of that at that point, worst case scenario. So then them got the other end score within a minute, and then you could just tell heads drop, the crowd get tense, people get frustrated because we've just all been there before so many times this season. Like the amount of times we've been 1-0 up at half time at Priory Lane and then not one is there must be at least sort of 6-7 occasions off the top of my head this season. Yeah, I mean, game itself, I feel like we slightly edged it maybe. It's always sort of hard to tell about watching it back properly because the emotion is still there at this point. But we had, few golden chances. I remember Josh going through on goal in the second half. May had a good shot blocked in the second half as well. Some of those really, really frustrating days, and they just smashed and grabbed it at the end. I mean, fair play to them. They didn't give up. Farnborough, they kept going to the end and stuck it on the keeper at the end, and it's just a really bad, terrible mess at the back, isn't it? I fear for the fact we've now lost Phipps as well. Like Phipps is so crucial to our defence, being the club captain and obviously the middle and the most experienced player, that back three. I thought, to be fair to Will, I thought he played alright again, but it's difficult to have a back three when you've got probably the most experienced player being Lachlan Bird, who's, had a few years, but, you need some real leaders and people that have been there before. And with Tate, Will and Lachlan now, it's looking, not looking as promising, to be honest with you. And sort of another thing in regards to the game was, it just sort of felt like when Grout came on, he changed the game again, which is just, I think it just goes to show the team. Maybe it's just like when we're being harsh and it's just a reflection of how good Grout is, but Grout came on and just did all simple stuff well, got top the pitch, linking play, and yeah, there was just too many people that went a bit missing, unfortunately.
And I think you're right in that. I mean, for me, I think we played okay. I didn't think we was was never dominant. I didn't think we was in trouble at one point. But like you say, there was a few moments there where, you've covered them all really, where we didn't quite do it. The goal miss. And then within a short time before you've forgotten that, it's 1-1, and that's a massive changing point for me. But I don't know if, we've been crying out for experience. What you said there about Grouty, he's young, right? He just comes on and plays with the freedom. He just comes on and plays the game of football. And, Tommy said yesterday in his interview that the supporters have got to support. We are in that situation now where the supporters need to support, and there's something not right about Priory Lane at the moment. There's not something, isn't happening at Priory Lane, and it seems to be easier to pick up points on the road, and I don't know what that is. There is an atmosphere there this year. I mean, we can all feel it. We can all see it when we get into the club. And I'm not entirely sure what that is. Various different things have obviously been muted to various different people about it's his fault, it's their fault, or whatever. But I think it's honestly time for the club now to... we had Simon on last week, who obviously answered some questions and to us and a few questions that have been put by certain supporters. But I think now for the wider fan base, I think it's time that actually the club came out and made a bit of a statement. We're in a situation now where, people are now messaging me from other clubs saying we're becoming a bit of a laughing stock, which we've said for, we've said privately to each other for a while that, something is not right, and now other fans are coming back and saying that to me, and I'm sure other fans are getting it from their friends as well. But it is becoming a bit of a joke now. I sat there last night. I'm still not over it. I was at work last night. I was right a miserable git. And if any of my customers that I transported around last night are watching this, I do apologise. You can see why. And I haven't really changed this morning. It's hard to take, right? This is our football club, and I think for the first time in a long time, we're coming to the realisation that actually we are banging it. And I think after yesterday's performance, I can't, as I put on the forum, I just can't see a positive way out of this. I can't see how we get out of this now. And I know Tommy comes out and says, there's 18 games, there's 54 points. There are. But we're going to need to pick up a lot of them points. We're going to need to pick up probably 50% of them points. And that's not going to be an easy situation.
Yeah, just on that as well, Baz, like with the Tommy's comments, sort of with a tiny bit disappointing to actually with his interview. Because Simon came on here and last week he said so we don't really have a plan for going down. I think we need a plan. Any business, etc., football club, whatever it may be, you've got to prepare for multiple scenarios, just like we did last year when we prepared for being in the South or the National League. You've got to have sort of two plans there. Because what we don't want to happen is we go down, and then it gets to May time, and we think, we haven't got any plan now for who we bring in, the players, because obviously the budget's going to go down, players you've had to attract go down, etc. I mean, you've got to start having both plans, even though you don't want, this plan to happen, of course. But with Tommy as well, I sort of expected Simon and Alan to say, I'm not sure Alan's opinion is, of course, but I would assume it's similar to Simon's in the sense that I thought they would both say that we won't go down, just in the fact that they're sort of confident, I guess, of us turning it around and they believe in what we got in the building. I thought Tommy would would feel like we're in a relegation battle. Like, I think when Kyle asked him the question, I was expecting him to say, "Yeah, we're right in the thick of it. We need to, all pull together to get out of this." And I don't know how he can't see that we're in the relegation battle, saying it's too early. We're 7 points adrift. We've nearly played 30 games. How are we not in a relegation battle? I don't understand that. So that was a bit worrying for me with Tommy.
Yeah, I just think that, at the end of the day, I said it to someone last night, I can't remember who it was. Tommy's our leader, right? Tommy's the one that's got to be, and if he comes out and says, yeah, we're banging it, what does that say to the players? I mean, I think the problem is this year that we've now been through, basically, if you want to say in the preparation for this year, we've been through 3 managers, because Adam obviously had a side that he was preparing for whatever league we were going to be in. And then obviously Adam left with his team in the summer, and he left for because he wanted to be closer to his family. But that's the narrative that the club and he have given. I don't know if that's true. I don't understand how someone who's coaching in Besiktas 4 years ago in Turkey suddenly finds Eastbourne too far from his family. But that's the narrative that the club have given. So whoever's made that decision, it doesn't matter who you ask, that's all you're going to be told. And I understand that, and I've said that privately to you. But Adam was building his squad. We then went through the period of not having a manager, and Matt Gray came in. And then Matt signed his players. I heard somebody say yesterday that Matt didn't want certain players, so that's why they were released. And then he went out to try and sign and get his new players. And for me, that's where the approach of this season has gone wrong. That's where this season has started to go wrong. Because we then started the season with a squad that even Alan and Simon and everyone came out and said, look, we need more bodies in the building. We're trying to get them, but we need more bodies in the building. We've heard that on numerous occasions this year. For me, you don't replace something until you've got the replacement. So, even if short-term contracts could have been offered, or even if, but doing your business through the summer, I just don't understand how, even if a new manager comes in and says that they're not my kind of players, you need some players, right? And that's I think where the season started to go wrong. And then obviously now we've got Tommy coming in saying that if players aren't good enough, he'll get them out the door. He wants to bring in his players, his type of players. And again, I understand that as a manager, but sometimes you have to work with the tools you're given. And yeah, maybe I'm just waffling on, but I'm just trying to find a solution, right? I'm just trying to find a reason that our club has gone from a relegation battle to almost winning the league back to what I would consider now a harder relegation battle. I think, and I've said it again before, we were very lucky in the first season in that relegation battle. We had what I consider to be probably, if not one of the most gifted managers we've ever had at our club.
At least second, isn't he? Got at least second, that year.
Sorry?
Got at least second, in top 3, definitely.
Yeah. And for him to, we were lucky to have him and players that had come in. We had some decent players that came in and hit the ground running, Yahya's and players like that. And then, it just continued. You know, Adam, I believe, I'm sure I saw the stat somewhere. I'll have to check it out. But and if I'm slightly wrong, I do apologise. But I think Adam had a 50% win rate, you know, as a manager of our club.
Yeah, it's probably close, isn't it?
And that is, you know, that's a massive rate. And yeah, it's just, I just don't understand. And I think that's what a lot of the supporters don't understand now. And I think that's why maybe the club needs to come out and make a statement, whoever that be, whether that be Alan, whether it be Simon. They need to understand that, you know, we're not happy. I'm sure they're not happy, you know, but they're the people that are leading our club. They're the custodians of our club. They're the people that are driving our club forward. And I think that's where we need to be with them. And that's my, I suppose, my thoughts the morning after.
Yeah, echo a lot of that. I mean, I think the thing with the Simon, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff that he said on whenever he called it Wednesday. A lot of stuff I agree with in terms of, you know, what they're doing long term, project wise, how they're getting revenue sources, social media, all that sort of thing. However, I think the main thing is the football club is that people want to see the first team do well, and if the first team aren't doing well, people aren't going to be happy. It doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes. And then equally, if the first team isn't doing well, people aren't going to turn up, and that's the nature of football fans. And in the day, like you only got to look down the road at Brighton, where it wasn't long ago they were in League One and getting crowds of less than 10,000, and now they've got a what's the capacity of Amex 30,000, and they're pushing for Europe, etc. And people turning up. That's because they're in the Premier League and they've got much better players than that's where they are. That's where they're at. And it was the same for us last season when we were chasing the league and where those sort of big games at the back end of the season against Worthing, West Supermare, etc. We were getting crowds through the door. Yeah, so that's sort of my take on the whole sort of Simon situation with the crowds, etc. And the first team with their with the atmosphere at the Priory Lane, and I think we need to sort of address it a bit. I feel like it's twofold currently. Like I put on one of our sort of chats towards group last night about it, and people were saying they feel like the fans are getting sort of blamed, or we're getting the stick essentially for the team doing well, not doing well even. And I feel like it's currently sort of twofold why the atmosphere is not great, in my opinion. The first part is the on-pitch stuff. In terms of it just feels like a bit of a vicious cycle currently, because yes, there was like a prime example of this. So we obviously go 1-0 up. I think atmosphere-wise, we were decent at that point. It was fine. Then Farnborough start knocking on the door, and we're quiet towards the back end of the first half. We continue. To be fair, I wasn't in the singing section in the second half, so I can't fully comment on the atmosphere, as well as someone that was in the North Sankard. But it sounded like we gave it some beans start of the second half, and then they score. Our fans then sort of voices drop. You can feel the frustration, tension. I'm guilty myself. When the equaliser went in, I just sort of felt like, oh, here we go again. And then that rubs off on the players, right? And also the players will have been there many times, like I said, this season, where they've conceded a goal and then went on to lose the game. So that's going to have an effect on you as an athlete psychologically, in the sense of what you've had previous experience-wise, and also what you can feel from the general crowd. And it sort of feels like there's a pressure given that situation, given the fact that if you've bought a season ticket this year, you've seen one win. That's providing you've been to every game, and obviously the Hampton game being that one. I know Seb listens, and poor old Seb, he's not seen a win in the league all year. Missed the away games we won, and he missed the Hampton game, so he literally hasn't seen his wins in West Supermare at home, which just goes to show how dire it is currently. So yeah, it's the on-pitch stuff in terms of why Priory Lane is becoming the opposite of a fortress. It's basically, you might as well call it 3-point lane at this point, because the team's got to rock up there, and they're pretty much, guaranteed to get something out of it, at least a draw. And then there's the second part, I think, with the tension with it is just how, rightly or wrongly, I'm not going to comment in terms of why fans feel a certain way, or, say they can't feel like this, or they can feel like this, or whatever. People are definitely annoyed and frustrated, and there's animosity between them and the board, 100%. like wherever you feel like that or yourself. I know some people are more pro the boards and some people are very anti the boards, but that's part of the reason why there's so much animosity. It's because we're not connected. And at the end of the day, that's the general consensus is we're not connected to the club as much as we should be.
Yeah, and I think, the big thing for me there in Tommy's interview yesterday was that Tommy picked up on that. He said there's a disconnection. And, this is why I think that, we need to, and how this is addressed, I don't know. I've got a couple of ideas that I might go and speak to somebody at the club about this week. But there, everybody is now feeling that disconnection. I think it's affecting everybody. I think there were people that posted yesterday on some of the sites, some of the groups, that I would never have expected to post about us being relegated. But there was one in particular that said, I think relegation is real now. And I think that's probably a very pro-board member. And I think maybe, and at the end of the day, what we've got to remember is they're not just a board. They're owners of our football club. Simon owns the football club. Benji owns shares. Alan owns shares. So it's not as easy as they're not in a position where they can be sacked from. Basically, they're in a position where they have to either relinquish their stake in the club or they have to sell their stake in the club or whatever else. Yeah, I just think that after yesterday, I would hope that the club will do something. I don't think it'd be fair to do it probably before Tuesday night. As in if it's going to involve other people or whatever else, because, you need that little bit of a break before then. So now we move on to Tuesday night. I know there were people yesterday saying that they're not going to bother going.
And to home games, just to add on to that. Yeah. People saying they're not going to go to Enfield as well, which is like, I'm in not privileged position, because that's the wrong word to use. I'm in a position where I don't have family, don't have kids of my own. Essentially, obviously got my own family, but not my own kids, partner, whatever. So I can understand their balance they've got to get right. Like, they're spending so much time away from their family, and I said that on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, that support has got limits. My limit was going to Horsham YMCA on Tuesday night. Somebody else's support might have been not seeing us win for, what's it now, 13 games at home, 14 games at home, whatever it may be. So yeah, you've got to respect it, but it's just sad, isn't it? With long-term Borough fans, these people that have been going to games, probably not as long as you have, Baz, but longer than me, aren't going to turn up 4 games. It's just, yeah, whether someone respects that decision or not, it's just sad, isn't it? End of the day. So yeah, I want to add that bit in there.
Yeah, and I think there are fans that have been going as long as me that are considering not bothering now as well. And that's that is a big issue for the club to address. But there we go. We'll know by, or hopefully we'll have seen something by the time we record our next pod. Obviously, unless we get one in the week, which I'm not sure that we'll have time this week. So the next one will be after the Enfield game, which means that we've got 2 games coming up. And Enfield, I don't even know how if I'm honest, I don't know how I'd approach a pod on that game, because for me that's the sort of game we should be winning. But then on the other side of the coin, it's at home, and we just don't seem to be able to win at home. No. So.
I said 4 points, didn't I, from these 2, and that's already gone. So yeah.
So now we move on to Tuesday night. Dagenham, they were beaten, I believe, 1-0 at Ebbsfleet yesterday, and and their form has been very up and down. We seem to be better on the road. What do you think? Can we get anything out of it?
I mean, never say never, right? Like Dagenham are a team that have been very mixed all season. They've had not a bad sort of last couple of months as of late. But they've got a couple of injuries. I know Carroll's obviously the main one, isn't he? He's out. On the grass pitch, away from home. You know, you never know. Can't say that I'm optimistic because why would you be when you're 23rd? But yeah, we definitely got a chance. But just in terms of the team going forward, I expect a few changes. And if George plays 10 again, we've got to question Tommy already, but we've got to question him if he starts again the 10. Like the chances we got yesterday and the one at Hornchurch, the Felton Mullins, etc. You know, if George was up there, I'm sure he's at least scoring, you know, one or two of these chances, and to keep him in the 10, like, to be fair to him, I thought he did alright yesterday. He had a few duels, he put himself about, tried to link play where he can, but he's an out and out 9. He's obviously not the same quality, but he's Gary Lineker, you know what I mean? He's fox in the box, he's between the posts. He's not a 10. Like, can we stop playing him at 10? Like, just please put Kai there instead. Because Kai, you know, has got that creative spark. I know he's had a couple of, about a month or so now, hasn't he, from poor form. But yeah, we've got to start George up top, surely. But yeah, not optimistic, but you know, as always, if I can go, we'll go, and I am there along with you boys, on Tuesday. Yes, hopefully we can, sort of turn the Dagenham crowd against them, a bit like people are doing to us currently, right? Because Dagenham are a club that were in League One. You know, even when I started watching football, they were up there in the Football League. For them, it's sort of similar to us being in the Isthmian South East, which is just, you know, unthinkable in terms of how far a club can fall. So yeah, hopefully we can have a bright start and then keep it up, because we need to have a consistent, you know, sort of at least 70, 80 minutes of a good performance, because we just have it in drips and drabs currently. Like we might have Hornchurch, where we sort of play. I say play well. Like it sort of annoys me when people say we sort of play well after we're 2-0 down. Like it happens against Chelsea, it happens against Hornchurch. Because they just sit back. Like I don't need to have the ball. They don't need to put you under any pressure. They're happy to just hit you on the counter attack, and that's all teams are going to do at any level of football once they're 2-0 up. You know, unless they're like Man City or Barcelona, they'll push for 3, 4, 5 maybe. But yeah, any side in most divisions of football, as soon as they get a fairly comfortable league, they're not going to start testing you. So I feel like maybe there was a bit of probably false hope of the Hornchurch performance, just because we were just down and out pretty much, you know, by 30 or 40 minutes against a team that we know can defend well in Hornchurch. I know I'm going back to the game previously, but what I mean is, you know, we've got to have a consistent level of performance at Dagenham, and if we do go 1-0 up, we need to put our, I hate to use the phrase, but foot on the throat of it, you know, just sort of grab the game by the scruff of the neck and, you know, show Dagenham that we can play, and we're not scared of them essentially. Yeah, that's how I feel about Dagenham. I don't think I'm optimistic in my score prediction. I don't even know. I can't even begin to predict it. I probably might think we might get a point out of it just because it's away, but could be anything.
Yeah, I'm not doing the predictions today.
No, I don't have a clue.
I just yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think there comes a time when you sort of look at the way we're playing, and you look at what we're doing, and maybe we haven't got the game management that we need, and I think that is sometimes crucial, and that comes with experience
And concentration.
Also, right. Yeah, I was going to say it comes with being able to concentrate for the game as well.
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming on today, Miles. Anyway, obviously we are now looking forward to fixtures away at Dagenham and then at home at Enfield. Of course, we're both sitting here hoping that by the time we next speak to you, we'll have 6 points.
Yeah, I hope so. But you know, I think that's very wishful thinking. But you know, I'll go along and I'll go back the boys as best we can. Right, that's all we can do currently.
That's all we can do, and obviously keep your eyes on on our page, or in case there is any news from the club in regards to a statement, or in regards of I don't know. I just don't know. Thanks for coming on, Miles. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see you on Tuesday.
No problem. Thank you. See you Tuesday.
See you later. Thanks for watching, guys.
Right.
I don't know how to stop recording. I think I'll stop. There it is. Stop.